thank you for being here. I would like to start with that. And I was just wondering if you could just tell us, I know you started off a little bit, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey so far.
Sure. As a physician, right? I originally came from India. I came to US after finishing my MBBS in India from Chennai. I don't know if I know Shilpi is probably Indian origin. What about you, Aqsa?
Indian origin.
As well, where are your parents from? Which place?
Uttar Pradesh, near Delhi.
Uttar Pradesh. Yeah, I know Uttar Pradesh. I'm from Tamil Nadu, Chennai. So I came when I was 25 after my MBBS in India. You know, in India, we go to medical school at 17, right? Go straight into medical school. And I finished and I wanted to come to, the only reason I came to US is because in India, it's very hard to get into pediatrics because you're a physician right after you finish your MBBS and you're out in the practice. You know, you do general practice. To get in the specialty is a long journey. At that time I was researching and I thought US, everybody does a specialty. Like they don't call it specialty here, but in the British system it is. They call it primary care. Pediatrics is considered primary care in the US. So I realized, wow, everybody has to do pediatrics or internal medicine to practice here. So I thought, let me just come here because it was so easy the process was easy. If I just get into my initial exams and I would just get a residency, the process was simple. Of course, the journey I wouldn't say it's hard. It depends how you define hard, because I expected to work hard anyway, right? I did work very hard in the medical school, even right from my 8th grade on. We had to really work hard and pretty much not do a lot of the social activities. At least that's what my mom told me. So I just listened to her. And so when I came here, so that's why I came to Detroit. And I came for pediatrics. And of course, this was pre-internet, right? I sent a handwritten application to 100 residency programs. We didn't even know where these residency programs existed or not. We went to US Embassy, myself and a couple of my friends. We picked up this book called Green Book, where the addresses of all the residencies in the US. So we physically hand wrote a letter. We didn't even copy. I don't know why we didn't do Xerox copy. We just like hand wrote 100 letters requesting for application to apply for residency. And like every envelope costs a lot of money. And we did. And then, of course, before that, we had to go to Singapore to take our exams, which was like 4 months of focused effort of our entire medical subjects, like 13 subjects. I had to review a couple of times. And then we went to Singapore from India. It was all expensive. And we had to make sure we had to pass it because I didn't want to come back again to take it because didn't want to waste my parents' money, right? But my mom encouraged me, although my mom wasn't very highly educated, but I think she didn't have a school education, college education, but she was a very smart lady. She said, no, if you had gone to the dorm, I'd have spent that much. So go ahead, don't worry, just go. So my parents gave me confidence. I'm the youngest of 5. This was a time when women, even today, I don't know how many parents are comfortable sending their daughter abroad without getting married. I was coming as single, and I said, they never stopped. None of our friends, none of their parents ever stopped us because we were girls and we can't go. They just told us do whatever. So anyway, I did come to Detroit. I got one interview. No, I got a lot of interviews. Out of the 100, many people didn't respond. Maybe 10 or 15 responded. Most of them said we don't take foreign medical graduates because they have enough local graduates. And then I got a few applications, but one hospital did a telephone interview and they interviewed us and they gave us a position. And we were like skeptical. You haven't even seen me. How can you interview and give me a residency? So my friend and I we actually got a tourist visa, came to US, visited many hospitals in New York and Chicago, interviewed, and we went finally to this place in Detroit, Children's Hospital of Michigan, which actually gave us the position. They didn't want to interview us, but they already gave us a position. But we went anyway to check the facility out because we don't want to come and waste our time in a hospital, which is not going to be good. But we realized that's probably the premier institute in the country. And honestly, after 3 years of residency, I can say that safely. So I finished my pediatric residency. Then I went into something called neonatology, which is obviously, premature babies. I did that in University of Chicago. And then for one last year of my fellowship, I went to University of Arkansas in Little Rock, because meanwhile I got married and I had a child, and my husband got a fellowship in Arkansas. So I had moved for my 3rd year of my fellowship. And then we were on something called a J1 visa, exchange visitor visa, which required us to serve in an underserved area in the country. And I remember it was very hard to find a job. But during our residency, we would always call and keep looking for a job, because the only way to stay in the country is to convert a G1 into a H1, and we had to find a job before a 6 year of training ended. And my husband was 4 years, but he could go up to 6 years. So anyway, long story short, there was a month. I remember month May of 1997, I believe. My husband was off, but I was still working. He had a vacation whole month. Every single day, he made a phone call. My dad was here, so he would say, morning 9 to 4, Hanif would, my husband say, by the way, I'm a Hindu, I'm married to a Muslim. My husband is a Muslim. My dad said, Hanif would call 9 to 5. Every day would be calling, do you have a job? Do you have a job? Do you have a job? This was all, the internet was there, but, we're all still on the phone call. So whole month of May, we didn't get anything. Nobody was willing to hire a physician. Like, we want to be in the same town. We don't want to be a different town. We don't want to send our child to India. We want to grow. We want to bring up our own son, even if we only get 10 minutes with him in a day. So these were some of the values we were just focused. We were not going to live in even different towns. Anyway, I think that little effort, I think when he interviewed in Little Rock, that chairman asked him at the end of the interview, what is your goal for next year? And my husband said, well, I have to get a job in an underserved area. And VA was one of them. And he said, don't worry, I want you to come here for your fellowship, because I'm going to fix that for you. I'm going to take care of it. And similarly, my director didn't even know me. The first question he asked me, so Laxmi, you're finishing up your fellowship next year. What are you going to do? I said, well, Dr. Arrington, I need to go. I need to find a job in an underserved area. And he asked me, what is underserved area? Then I told him what it was. And then I told him there's a place nearby called Pine Bluff. He goes, wow, I have friends in Pine Bluff. He said, no problem. I can introduce you to them. We'll see whether they can do it. So this man is one of the first neonatologists in University of in Little Rock. He was there when Chelsea Clinton was born, because they wanted him to be there. And he's the humblest person. He drove me 40 miles one way. After I started my fellowship, he drove me 40 miles one way to Pine Bluff, introduced me to his friends in pediatrics. But the CEO of the hospital wanted to meet me as well. They never hire a physician, because they were an independent contractor. But he came to lunch. He met me. The pediatricians didn't want to sponsor. They don't want to deal with hiring a pediatrician. But the C was interested in sponsoring. I didn't ask him anything. He took care of my visa. He paid for it. I didn't expect him to pay for my lawyer's fee. He did everything. And of course, I'm always grateful to him. He supported me for 3 years, and that's how I fixed my green card. My husband worked for the VA hospital, and of course, we lived in the same small town, Pine Bluff. And so this is where I had another child, and I used to work 120 hours a week as a neonatologist. I loved it. That was my, you forget the world when I'm in the NICU. I forget everything. But you know what? My life changed, because when my children came, I'm sure your parents feel that way too. I was like, my mom was always there for me. Why am I? It really hurt us that I had to put my child into a babysitter. And it's not that once you have a child, life changes. But unfortunately, my mom never prepared me for that. And you start reconsidering your values. This is what I really want. Do I want my children to be brought up by a babysitter, and then maybe a sitter she'll watch who knows what on TV? Because I've seen stuff in Detroit as a pediatrician in teenagers. So that kind of shocked me. Coming from India was a big culture shock. It still is. And also opportunity stolen away from young girls because they get pregnant. And they used to tell me, I can't go to college because I've taken care of my baby. And I go, oh my God, I got education. I didn't have all the wealth that America had, but I had the education, which my mom would have killed. We didn't even think of those things, right? So anyway, long story short, along the way, we realized few years in our career, I'm making a lot of money, but I'm investing, and I'm taking away from my children. So we had to, and my husband and I said, also, we realized we had a lot of potential. I don't want to be working for a boss the rest of my life. The OBGYN tells me, if they call me, I have to drop everything and run, because that's the nature of my job. I didn't mind running, but I knew in my 30s, I was already entering my 30s when I got my job. I knew mid-30s, mid-40s, I'm going to be exhausted. Also, I looked at whatever career you guys choose, I didn't know this. It just came to me. I looked at some of the pediatricians I worked with, and they were not excited. They don't want to do anything. I wanted to teach the nurses. I want to make changes in the NICU, and they don't want me to do any of those things. I met so much resistance from them. And I was thinking one day, then I realized, you know what, if I'm doing what they're doing for the next 20, 30 years of my life, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because as a neonatologist, we learn all these high-end skills. We can do it in our sleep. After 1 year, you know how to do everything, and there's nothing more to learn. And there's nothing more to learn. And when you have nothing more to learn, your brain dies. You just become like you get into a rut. You get very comfortable. You make a lot of money, but you get comfortable, and there's no desire to grow because you don't know anything else. And I don't want to end up like that. So we started looking. My husband and I started looking for an opportunity. But anyway, we met somebody who's a very successful rocket scientist from India, Indian origin. Went to IIT. I don't know if you guys know. Very smart guy. But he at 29 years of age, he was able to walk away from his corporate world to be a full-time dad, invested time in his children, other causes, charity. I mean, he does a lot of work because he bought back his time. That's a different story, but he's one of my coaches right now, and I became an entrepreneur. I parallel to my medical career, I started something on my own along with my husband with the help of my coaches. It's not a traditional business, it's totally non-traditional because I wanted to add value, I want to add significance. So that's been more than a 10-year journey. I did parallel to my medical career. Along the way, I went part-time because I learned that I didn't have to kill myself being a physician. I could be part-time. And of course, my children are going to be 18 only for that time of their life. I can always go back to what I want to do. I go part-time. I homeschool my kids for 6 years. And my kids have been out of home, but my daughter is 3 years out of home. So I've been a free mom really for a long time. So along the way, I do a lot of things. I'm big into leadership. I get coached. Now I'm a mentee. I'm also a mentor. So yeah, I do a lot of things. And whatever you want to ask me about COVID, it's going to come from a totally different perspective because, if this might help you, I haven't watched TV since 2002. I don't have TV. I have a TV, but no cable. It's not connected to anything. It's sitting in our basement. We just bought 3 years ago because we thought, we'll get a large stage screen or we'll watch a movie once in a while. But you know what? I've not watched at all. Nobody wants to go to the basement, I guess. So I'm not. I don't watch TV. I don't read news because you know what? First of all, I didn't have time before 2002. I didn't have time. We would watch here and there. And then the kids came, it was always Barney and all those, whatever TV shows. One day I was watching a TV show with my son and I said, you know what? You're not watching this anymore. SpongeBob, because it was teaching them. My son changed when he moved to New York from Arkansas. He became a little impolite towards his sister. I was thinking it was New York, but I realized he's picking up from SpongeBob. He was just 5 years old. I pulled the TV plug. I said, guys, we're not going to watch TV anymore. And they have not. Of course, these days you have everything on the smartphone, but they didn't miss anything. We had a lot of fun with our homeschool. So whatever perspective I'm going to come from is going to be totally different. It's not going to be what you hear from anyone else. I do have friends in the front line, very close friends. One of my mentors is ID infectious disease attending in Houston. I know he's fighting I know it's going up in Houston, but it's always going to be coming from a positive spin, if that helps you, because I believe in that. I've always been that way. Just, I don't know. Now, of course, I'm in a different environment where I read different books. I associate with different people. So yeah, whatever questions you want to ask me, go ahead. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys, but yeah.
So thank you for answering that so in depth. We do have a couple questions about COVID and about your experience in the healthcare. But as of now, medical school and even majoring in medicine or pre-med, it's something that worries quite a lot of people in today's generation, especially now since we went through a pandemic. So there's probably going to be a renewed interest in medical fields. When did you decide that you wanted to go into the healthcare field, and how did you work to pursuing this career?
All right. Yeah, that'll probably be more to a question for somebody who's went to medical school in the US. In India, it wasn't a choice. I really wanted to be an engineer. And I don't want to be a doctor. I never had any desire to be a physician. So in India, the system works is at the end of 12th grade, you of course, your marks in math, physics, and chemistry count for engineering. And physics, chemistry, and biology, the average, they have some scoring system, counts towards medicine. And then we have a common entrance exam that we write for both medicine and engineering, I think. Yeah, I wrote only one entrance exam. Based on the scores we get, they tell you whether you got into medical school or engineering or both. In my case, I got into both. And I did not expect to get into, I wasn't even interested in medical school. I don't think my dad expected me to get into medical school because the cutoff for medical school was very high, but I guess I did well. So I got in. When I got the admission, my dad, he told me that being a physician is more fulfilling than being an engineer, because he's an engineer. And I really, honestly, I was shocked, because my dad, all my last, because my dad is an engineer, I wanted to be like him. I was always talking about, plus I love physics and math. I thought this is going to be my life. Man, I'm going to be doing all this stuff, cool stuff, computers and all that. But my dad told me no. He didn't say no. He said, listen, think about it. Being a physician is more fulfilling. Of course, I obviously was very mad at my dad, and I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't know how to fight, because he wasn't being rude. He was just like, he just gave me the choice. I was fighting with my mom. My mom was like, you do whatever you want. She didn't really care. She was like, why can't you be an engineer? I don't know why, dad. But anyway, I don't know. So it wasn't that I wanted to be, but I was, of course, obviously at the end, one of my neighbors said, Lakshmi, if you listen to your parent, dad, you'll never go wrong in life. And I took it to heart. I was just about 17. Trust me, I took it to heart. And I said, okay. And also my closest friend, went through the same thing. Her dad stopped talking to her for 10 days because she didn't want to go into medicine. She wanted to go to civil engineering. Think about emotional blackmail. And her mom and my mom used to talk over the phone. Why can't our husbands allow our daughters do whatever they want to do? But anyway, long story short, my friend also decided, okay, I'm going to medical. Both of us ended up in the same medical college. There were like 10 of us. But you know what? It was the decision, I think, was made. My dad probably facilitated the decision. But looking back now, I'm totally grateful that I went to medical school, because if I was an engineer, I don't know what I would be doing. Maybe I have to keep learning some new stuff all the time. The cool thing with medicine, nothing changes. And we don't have to worry if the body is the same. Yeah, technology may change, but it's not a whole lot. So I think, so if somebody is considering medical school, I tell this to my daughter, you can't, if you really love it, if that's what you want to be as a doctor, because some kids tell me, I want to be a physician. If you're a physician, you better do it. I don't care how hard it is. There's nothing hard about studying. You may have to put in 16, 17, 18 hours, but then if you can't do it in your teenagers and 20s and 30s, what are you going to do in your 40s and 50s, right? So I tell this to my daughter, although I don't work as a physician, I can, just with one phone call, I can go work anywhere as a neonatologist, and neonatologists get paid a very high 6-figure income. So I told my daughter, it's just a choice. I don't work, but I'm still a physician. Nobody can take it away from me. But I tell young people, do not look at the work, or even, so what if there's a pandemic? Something else could come another day. We cannot predict. Life is not so perfect. The way to prepare is, no matter what, I'm going to go through this stuff. Even that's how I look. I don't care. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to come out totally fine. So if someone is passionate about medicine, or they want to be a doctor, they don't need to. I didn't shadow any physician. I probably wouldn't have gone to medical school. I don't know what I would have done. My sister is a doctor. I've seen how much she had to study. In India, it's a different system. We had to memorize pages, thousands of pages, to even get through an exam. But I was kind of afraid. I don't want to do it. That's no reason I want to go to medicine. But once I was in there, I just was willing to work hard. It wasn't like, it's not really that hard, like the world. And so if somebody has a desire to be a doctor, they should go after it, because there's nothing worthwhile you can get in life without working hard. You better believe it. Because and then otherwise I would have just been average. I don't want to be average, and just blocking my day, like not going for weddings, and I don't know what else I missed in my medical school. I didn't go for weddings. I didn't go to housewarming ceremonies. I didn't go to every baby naming ceremonies. My relatives didn't see me for 4 years. They thought I was antisocial. For 4.5 years they would come home, but I would just be in my room. I just hello to them and go study, because I always had a test. But you know what? I've formed such good relationship in my medical school that I can just pick up the phone, call anybody. Even it's been almost 29 years since I graduated. I still have the connections with not just my classmates, even my seniors, and some of them are juniors to me. I could just pick up and ask them any question. Hey, listen, I have a question about cardiology or whatever, like a patient. So if you should just go. Don't let the world determine where your career should be. Just if you love it, just do it. If that's like my neighbor's son is going to orthopedic surgery. I was just talking to him. I mean, he's just determined to do what he wants to do. Young guy, 25-year-old, he'll be an orthopedic surgeon by the time he finishes by the time he's 30, 31. And he knows exactly where he wants. He wants to be in Northeast, and I was talking to him today. So that's how he should be. Also, you don't have to do something because everybody else is doing, or decide not to do something because someone told you it is hard. It is not really hard. It's not really, it shouldn't be hard. It's not like a health challenge, or you're not living in a war zone. So I don't know if that works. That makes sense?
Yeah, thank you. That's like really inspiring to just kind of go for what you want to do. And even if it's a lot of hard work, in the end, it's going to be worth it. But being an international resident, there was like a greater pressure on you, especially from your parents, and especially because of the economic pressures that you were talking about earlier. How did you deal with this pressure and stress? And how would you recommend other individuals who might be international residents deal with this stress?
You're talking about stress. I couldn't hear the first part of the question. Stress from where, like medical school?
Being an international resident, like being in America as an international resident.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I don't know. Well, first of all, I didn't think that way. I didn't think stress or whatever words people use. I think obviously it was my choice to come to Detroit, to US, and it was Detroit. And see, this was pre-internet, so I didn't have all the information about Detroit. I didn't even know it was called the murder capital of the US. I got a letter from the residency program saying that although Detroit is called murder capital of the US and blah blah blah, you have to take some precautions and stuff. And I made my life very simple. I found out that right next to the children's hospital there was a apartment complex where I could get in the apartment. And I said, you know what? Because I didn't know, I knew it took time to get a license and to drive a car. I didn't even know if I'm going to get a car. I wasn't even thinking those things. I just want to be next door to the hospital so I could just walk to the hospital. Plus, during my interview, they said if you if you're afraid to walk in the night, late night, the security will always drive you. I mean, literally, I'm like half a minute walk from it's right next to each other. But it was Detroit, downtown Detroit, and there's nobody on the roads. It's totally deserted. So the security will always, so that was something I knew I would be okay. And the security always says, don't feel bad, call us anytime, we'll drive you. So they'll just, from one entrance to another entrance, they'll drop me. So as far as safety, that was, I wasn't. The residency program, you know what, I don't know. Maybe it's because of the way we are programmed all our life in India. We never really, I never thought it was such a big deal because remember, I wanted to come here and I was excited to get a residency. It's not just residency. We had to get visa twice. Once for a tourist visa and second time for a residency. And they were denying single girls, especially physicians at that time, because, they would come here, they said, well, get married and stay or whatever. But, I didn't have any issues. But, so obviously it was when you have a dream and you're going to focus, you're not going to think about you're only prepared mentally to just do your best. And I didn't think there's a lot of stress or pressure. I just came knowing that I have to perform well. And also the way, honestly, we're a little bit arrogant. At least I was, because the training I got in India, medical school it's outstanding. Give me just a second. Sorry, I couldn't find my headset, so I know the noise is coming. So when I came here, I chose US over UK because I always assumed that US, if you do well, you will be rewarded. People will recognize you. I did not think about me being a single woman, colored. I didn't know all these words. I didn't know brown. I just didn't know. I just said US seems like, because of maybe I read some stories about, some famous people like Kennedy and not Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and a lot of people. These were something in our school days, and it's always had this thing coming to US. If I do well, I will be nobody can stop me, and that's true. That's what I found out even 28 years later. But that was a confidence I had, and I also knew that I had a little bit cutting edge over my American counterparts because when I prepared for my exams to come here, it wasn't that hard. I had to memorize a lot, but it was nothing compared to what I did to graduate every one of my MBBS, right? Every one of my subjects. Guys, can you? Okay, sorry. So I came here knowing that if I do really well, nobody can stop me. And if so, I also happen to have a very good nephrologist. She came from Lebanon originally. She was in the Detroit for many years, one of the best nephrologists. And at the end of each month, they will give us our evaluation, how you did. The advice she gave me was that hey, listen, you know a lot, but you don't speak up, because in India we don't talk to our attendings, we don't raise our voice. I'm going to change positions. We don't speak to our attendings. So what we did was we I would not speak much out of respect, not because we didn't know. The advice she gave me was you know a lot, so you have to speak up. If you don't speak up, the American people don't know much, but they will speak a lot and drown your voice. So she said, you got to be a loud mouth like me, because she was. And that is one of the best advice I've had. And I realized first year was a little bit I was a little shy, not shy, but I won't even say I'm not really introvert from India, but it was in your system. I was fascinated by the computers, how easy I could get information to articles. So I think I would just spend time in the libraries, and I was fascinated by the cafeteria. There wasn't much Indian food, but I just loved some of the food. But you know what? It was an experience for me, and I didn't have time to think about stress and all that. We did, of course, 36 hours straight calls every fourth night. But after my first year, I once I got to know the system, once I got to people, my second and third year were really a joy because I got to know everybody in the residency program, and every nurses, every physician I knew. But that was 1 year of learning and understanding. Nobody taught me, but of course, this attending a lot of people. But I was very focused on my work because that's why I came here. I didn't come here to party, so I was very focused, and I made sure I did really well. And also, one of the things I've learned was to be totally brutally honest with yourself and with others. Like when I did a physical exam, if I missed something, I had to tell my attending that I did not examine something. And it happened twice on this thing, which I was afraid because it was a challenge I had to overcome. And I told in front of everybody that I did not examine. And the attending got really upset with me in front of everyone. But later she called me and said, you know what, Lakshmi, it takes a lot of guts to speak the truth in front of everyone. And later she became one of my best, almost like my good friend. But you know what? So I think, I think you just have to be true to yourself and just work very hard. I do not. So even today, a lot of things do exist. I'm not denying, brown, whatever color they want to call us. But if I'm so good at it, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of examples in the US with blacks too who've really done well. And I have a lot of great people who are of all colors who influenced me. So I really, it doesn't really bother me. And I just expect the, best of everyone. This is something I learned along the way. But I was 3 years in really rural Arkansas, right? It's completely white. I've never felt discriminated. People have really complimented me. It's because of me, because I reach out to people. I don't look at them as white, black, blue, brown. No, I look at them as a person. Maybe it's because my career as a physician, because I started in inner city Detroit, which is almost African American, and I couldn't even understand a word of English they said because they were different accent. Took me a while to understand, but once I got to know them, I would talk to them. I would ask them about their life. I had to talk to teenagers. I had to know what's going on in this part of our training as well. And I had to learn. It didn't matter, black, white, or whatever. Everybody had challenges. And as a physician, I cannot look at that. When a baby is born, they all come blue. They all come blue. I can't even tell the race of the newborn baby, premature baby. It's very hard to tell. Sometimes we don't even know. We could ask the nurse, is it because of black babies do well? So we always ask, is it mom black, white? What is it? Oh, dark, I can't even tell. Oh, fine, go look at the mom and tell me, because sometimes they call you at the last minute. They just walk in and have the baby. So they all look the same. Every baby looks the same. I just want to know the race, because you have black babies and Indian babies, then white babies, right? So if it's a black girl, I'm always excited because they do well. So that's all I cared about. But I don't think I had any. I cannot even. You just have to, no matter where you are. You just have to believe in yourself and just believe in your abilities and be willing to learn. Never let anyone tell you don't know something. I really don't care. In fact, I was talking to my cousin. She's a lawyer from India. She lives here too. She said, Lakshmi, we are so arrogant inside. If someone said something to us, we go inside, we'll say, well, you know what? I know better than you. I really don't care. Right? Because honestly, our English is better. Our training was better. We've done stuff in India. So we came with that confidence. And I understand that's a privilege. Not everybody comes with that. So yeah, I know I give you long answers. I hope that helps. Yeah.
We actually really appreciate your answers being really long and detailed. They definitely provide more information about your story, and it will be really helpful for like many other minority groups and people that may be worried about it. So this is more of a lighthearted question. What was your favorite part of working in the healthcare field, and what was your least favorite? And if you had the chance to restart your life, would you go into the healthcare field again, or would you pursue a different career?
Oh, good question. What did I like about healthcare? Um, I think when I worked in Jamaica, I worked in a Jamaica hospital in New York for almost 7 years. The best part is because I used to do 24-hour shifts, and most of my nurses from Kerala, India, or Philippines, or Haiti, I think. They would bring me food all the time because I did 24-hour shifts. So they'll always make me, in fact, they'll say, one of the nurses will say, Dr. Lakshmi, don't go home yet. I bought you dosa, idli, and whatever. So it was like a family. I ate a lot. And I think that was probably one of my probably best memories of being in a position. But I think this one I was really touched by this because my first job was in my 2000, no, 1998, almost 20 plus years ago in a small town called Pine Bluff, Arkansas, which is predominantly you know, there were foreigners mostly. They were all doctors from India and Pakistan, and the other group of Bangladeshis are all professors and predominantly white in the hospital, and then surrounded by all black neighborhood. But of course, it didn't matter. So I had everybody. So that was the first place I started my neonatology fellowship. I was the first, job. I was the first person hired by the by the hospital ever, and I was a neonatologist. And I learned, and during that time, I formed some really great friendships. And then, of course, I moved to New York. I would call my nurses once in a while. But about 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I got a message from somebody on Facebook, one of my nurses. She said, Dr. Modipali, you have no idea how long I've been looking for you. I'm so glad I found you on Facebook. And then we connected, and almost all the nurses are now on Facebook. And of course, many of them know my story of, I'm able to, I was really touched by it because the first nurse who delivered my baby, who took care of my daughter, she's my good friend, and she's there now. She's almost 80 something. I didn't know she was that old. She's not old, but she looks great. I didn't think of the age difference when I was working, but she's a great grandmother, and I think that's one of the best things I've learned, because trust me, these are all white people, by the way. Okay, they didn't look at me as Indian doctor, brown, nothing. They just know me as. In fact, I tell them, don't call me Dr. Modipali. Call me Lakshmi. She said, no, you're always Dr. Modipali for us. And you know what? And they always say how much they've learned from me, and I also learned a lot from them. So I think that to me is being a doctor is about having long-term relationships, no matter what. And other cool thing is my boss called me 5 years after I quit my job. He's in Jamaica hospital. He called me and said, so what's happening? I heard, so Nadia, my daughter, he kept track. Well, Nadia must be going to school. And he said, yeah, she's going to Stony Brook. He goes, oh, really? So Nadia's in Stony Brook. Your husband is in Long Island. I think you should move to Long Island and come work for me again. I said, I think that's a cool thing because even though I quit my job, voluntarily, he's a good friend, but I was in touch with him for 5 years, but he still called me. Last month, he just called me and I was just trying to see if I'm still looking to work. And I've not worked for 6-8 years now. But I think that's one of the best. I think I consider it as a compliment that people still think I could come and work and not say, oh, 8 years is a gap. There's no gap. There's no gap. Right? It's not the skills. Skills can be learned in a day because it's already in my subconscious. It's the relationships you form wherever you do and the value you give to the people. I think that's my probably one of the best memories. If I have to do it all over again, what would I do? If I were living in this current environment, um, hopefully I'll have parents who will support me for a couple of years. Because I've told this to my son. Why don't you just, he's a biomedical engineer. I told him, Akhil, I'll support you for 2 years. Develop, he's very much into biotechnology. I would probably develop something. I really don't know, Shilpi. I don't know what I would do. I probably won't change anything about my life. Let's put it that way. Because I think being a physician, I think I'm very compassionate. I probably would have become an entrepreneur sooner, bought my time back, because our ultimate goal is we want to go back. My husband actually wants to go to Bangladesh, Rohingya camps. You guys know about Rohingya. So he wants to go there and just do free, he just not medicine, like be a doctor for nothing, right? Just to give back to those people. And I think we both are very good at that. So I think that's something we would do. I think I would not change anything. I would still go to medicine. Thanks to dad. I'm glad I didn't go to engineering though, because I see my cousins, their life is different. So yeah. Anything else? That's it.
Yes. So just before we end everything, I just wanted to say, what was one of the we can tell, and from your bio as well, that you love telling stories. I just wanted to know how this pandemic would kind of play into your story and what advice you had for future generations of physicians and doctors.
Awesome. So when the pandemic hit, like I said, I don't read news. Once we heard, oh, China. I didn't even know this thing was going in China because people asking me, where can I get a mask? I was like, why is everyone asking me for a mask? And then they said, because of this happened in Wuhan. I had just gone to India and I came back. Good thing I didn't read all this stuff. And then, so when it hit, obviously my husband, their team, of course, when they said they're going to shut down, it happened in March. So obviously, started reading. I started reading about it. And of course, then, for a couple of weeks, I read more like, as a physician, how do you handle something like this, right? Not to have fear from the COVID, right? Because if it's not COVID, it's something else. But the question is, as a human being, as a mom, as a physician, I want to know, how do I protect myself and my families? So, at that time they said, wash your hands. They didn't say much about face mask. I don't remember, but they said, wash your hands. And I said, wow, you know what? Yeah, wash your hands and leave your footwear outside. I said, well, that's what we do as Indians always. And I said, well, that's what we did. And then of course they said, don't go anywhere. So for me, instantly, and honestly, a little happy in a way, because my daughter had just come from Stony Brook for her spring break. And then they said, oh, she's not going back. They said their class are shut. I said, oh, so you'll be doing remote. I said, oh, good. So you're going to be home. And my husband's practice in a day, they went from, they went remote. Everybody started working from home, and I know that's probably one of his most, because he's a chief medical officer, so there was a lot of logistics had to work out, and there were so many meetings on. I got tired of him being on Zoom calls or calls all the time, so that shifted. But one thing I know, it's not just about this. Anything in life, if somebody has cancer, I don't go think, oh, I'm going to die of cancer. I'm going to say, okay, just because you have cancer, I'm going to pray for you. But I also know people who fought cancer. I know somebody right now, a good friend, fought it for 5+ years. And she was supposed to die in 6 months. She's not going to die for another 30 years. I know that. Her attitude. So it's all about attitude. When they said COVID, first of all, people need to turn off the TV and just go to CDC website. And I used to listen to, I didn't even know Andrew Cuomo, by the way. I didn't know he was the governor of New York. Then I started listening to his briefing, and I told my husband, this guy seems like a smart guy. He's not panic, like creating panic in people. Because when people panic, then everything will come to you, because it's called law of attraction. You got to be so confident. I told my friends, listen, even if I get it, I'm not going to have any symptoms. I'm going to be one of those asymptomatic carriers. And of course, as physicians, I take a lot of supplements up to my vitamin C. Also, I was not coming in contact, but I have close friends who are in contact, and I called all of them. All these, I texted them, and they said, what? First time in my life, I'm afraid to go home to see what I'm going to carry. I said, listen, by the way, I have a gratitude journal I write every single day. I pray for everyone, even before pandemic hit. So I told him, hey, listen, God has your hand of protection over you guys. Nobody's going. You're doing good work, and I know you. It's hard. You could just say no. I will not treat a patient and go home, but you're out there unselfishly, selflessly. So I said, what? You're going to be protected. And trust me, my friends are all great. They actually intubate COVID patients. One of my friends said she took care of a 73-year-old lady, and she's a pediatric intensivist. And she said, I'm so grateful for our training in India because of that, I was the only doctor who had no issues taking care of these oldies. That's what she called oldies. And she said, because none of my colleagues had the same amount of training and they kind of struggle with adults. But she said, and I told her, listen, that's why we are like always say India training was the best. So no matter when you're going through something, you got to pray. Everyone prays, but they think they're going to get infected. I say, God, if I'm going to get infected, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to come out totally fine. And that's always been my attitude. That's how I reversed my diabetes too. I also have another story with my dad with his cancer and stuff, but I just know I'm going to come out fine. So you have to really be smart and not get emotional with all these things. As some intelligent people, I went to CDC website and I listened to Andrew Cuomo just to see, okay, what precautions. And I said, well, I'm sitting at home. I'm not going. Even if you go out, even the doctors who are out, my friends didn't have enough PPE. They were in front line, and I couldn't be die in fear sitting at home. It looks so selfish of me, and they were right there. So I decided just pray for all of them. In fact, I have another friend who's also a physician, but she also doesn't practice. So she and I were thinking, should we actually enroll to volunteer? So I said, what? Let's see if that comes to Westchester County, then I said we should volunteer if it gets to that point, that magnitude. And she's actually a Hindu. She's very much into religion. She said, what, Lakshmi? Every morning I wake up and I pray. I pray some verses from my scriptures, and I pray for all the people. And honestly, that's what we do. Prayer works. Prayer, believing you're going to get what you already received what you're asking for, right? That's what prayer is. Not wishing for something you already know you're going to get it. So how do you handle any challenge? If you're not in the front line, don't worry about it. And if you have elderly parents, take care of them. And I'll tell you something, in India, Chennai, the cases are very, very high right now. And my mom is bedridden. She's 90 almost. She's bedridden. Only 2 maids can take care of her because she's not just bedridden, she's stiff all over. My sisters are all, emotionally, they're just not, they can't handle. I mean, they will handle if they need to, but she's been totally bedridden, being taking care of these 2 ladies for more than 5+ years. And we have COVID in that area. But you know what? My sister called me and said, I don't know what will happen if one of the ladies get it. I said, listen, nobody's going to get it. Just tell them take simple precautions. Mom is going to be okay. And my mom has not seen any of her great grandchildren or great children, almost great grandchildren, almost. They all live close by. In 4 months, they just were seeing her on WhatsApp. My mom can't even talk. She's aware, but she's not able to talk because of some other, I don't know what her issue is, but she has a medical issue. But that bothers me. But I cannot watch TV and say, my mom, the caregivers are going to get COVID. My mom is going to get COVID. No, I told my mom, don't worry. Everything is okay. You're going to become up. Everything is going to go in a few months. That's my expectation. And I told my sister, the ladies are going to be fine because so that's, I expect, you have to, no matter what. The doctors can say whatever they want. And also the other thing, I don't read all my friends, I don't read their experience. I just tell them, hey guys, I'm glad you guys are okay. I really don't want to hear your stories, not yet. Maybe later, because I have to keep my mind positive. Because for me, my biggest concern is my mom and my in-laws too. I mean, they're active and they're well, they're in India. But my biggest concern, my mom, who cannot, so to me, it's like I cannot let that bother me. And I think we've done pretty well. And as long as you social distance and mask, hey, you should be fine. Wash your hands. Yeah. Yeah, that's all it is. So you can get too involved in the politics as well, which is really sad. Texas, the cases are going up because they did not implement social distancing. But I tell people, I don't care what the politicians think. They're not doctors. I, as a physician, know to wear my mask and social distance. Period. So that's how you should make decisions. You should know whom to get your information from. Only from experts. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay,
Did that answer your question?
What happened?
Did that answer your question?
Yes, that answered really well. Like, always keep a positive attitude and go to the right sources. Don't go on the media
Facts.
and
Look at facts. Media is no good.
Yeah. So that kind of concludes our interview. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to ask us. And just thank you for being a part of our initiative. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Listen, is there anything I can do for your organization? Please feel free to reach out anytime. I'm really proud of you both. Okay, I'm proud of the organization. It's so cool. So who can join this organization?
So right now it's all high schoolers, but obviously if you want to make a difference, you are always free to join. We don't have any restrictions as long as you're really passionate about doing this.
Sure. I'll reach out to you and I'll maybe see which high schooler I can refer to you. And where do you guys live? New Jersey?
New Jersey.
Yes.
Okay. I live in Westchester County, not far away. Maybe some point when we can all meet, or maybe I will come by and do something for your organization. Feel free, and you can even connect with my husband. His name is Muhammad Anif, Aniff. If you want him to be on an interview, I can even invite. You're interviewing anybody, right? I can invite you some female physicians who are out in the field. You can probably do that too. Okay. Yeah. All right, Aqsa. All right, Shilpi. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys reaching out, and proud of you both. Do you guys want to be doctors? Is that your goal?
Yeah, that's my goal.
Not mine, but it is Aqsa's.
Aqsa, absolutely. Listen, put your blinders on. Be willing to work hard. It's always work now, play later. Okay? Shilpi, what do you want to be?
I want to be an engineer.
All right, awesome. My son is an engineer. I'm so glad he went to college for 4 years. He came with an engineering degree and not something that says, I don't know what to do next, right? So actually, it's funny. You can connect, later maybe, but I don't know, because when you get closer to college, he actually works for a startup company where he's actually into sales of insurance, but tech insurance, he calls it. Something totally a different concept. Yeah, but he's a biomedical engineer from Pittsburgh. So... well, good luck to both of you. But hey, listen, reach out to me anytime. I'm always willing to add value to anybody in any way. And I have time. All right?
Thank you. And just to confirm, you are okay with us posting this on our social media, right?
That's totally fine. I hope if it added value to you, it's totally fine.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Have a great day, girls.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.